50 are missing and at least 13 dead from that massive train explosion in Canada. Explosive flames wiped out 30 buildings, essentially wiped out a small town in Quebec, when a train carrying 72 tanker cars of oil got loose, sped downhill, and crashed this weekend as the U.S. and Canada pump out more and more fuel from shale formations up north. And while the Keystone XL pipeline is held up, trains are moving a lot of that fuel. How safe is it? Brigham McCowan is the former Deputy Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administrator, joins us now by Skype from Dallas. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the program.
I want to start with what I think is a pretty impolitic question, which is, are these type of accidents an unfortunate but real cost of doing business?
Well, I think as the former regulator, we would say that the goal is zero accidents, zero releases, zero deaths, and zero injuries. By the same token, we live in a real world where we take risks each and every day. And, the question is, how do you mitigate those risks so that you reduce the number of releases? And then when you do, how do you mitigate the consequences from those? And this is a pretty horrific accident.
So I guess if the goal is zero, then how do we do better? What aren't we doing that we should be doing?
Well, in this case, I think you're going to see that human error played the crucial factor, and it's clearly a preventable accident.
It seems like a brake came loose while the trains were parked.
Right, and the Canadian version of the U.S.'s National Transportation Safety Board, called the Transportation Safety Board, is looking into that right now. But apparently, a locomotive overheated, and when the firefighters came out and shut down the locomotive, that also shut down the air brakes, and backups were not put in place, and the train literally rolled away.
And is that a surprising thing? Is this a common problem that we should know about?
No, it's very surprising because, the air brakes are there as the primary braking system for a train. However, if that is shut off, handbrakes have to be applied, and literally the wheels have to be chalked, if you will, with a metal device placed in front of them so that the train won't roll. And apparently that just wasn't done.
So what are our options for moving this fuel, and how do they stack up in terms of desirability, safety?
Right. Well, we're undergoing a North American energy renaissance. And just a few years ago, you might remember we were out of oil and looking for alternatives. The United States and Canada are awash in oil, awash in natural gas. We have more natural gas than Saudi Arabia has crude oil. And we're finding more crude oil each and every day. And as a consequence of that, we're now no longer importing the majority of our oil from the Mideast. In fact, Canada is our #1 source of oil. And I think in a few years, we're going to become North American energy independent. And that means a different transportation system, a 21st century transportation system for this energy renaissance.
Okay, so what does that mean? Because there are concerns both about the safety of extracting this stuff and moving it. So how do we move it? It doesn't seem like, we obviously don't want incidents like we just saw over the weekend.
Well, I think the issue is, take, for example, the Asiana 214 crash in San Francisco. Nobody's saying, let's ban passenger aircraft flying. They're saying, let's get to the bottom of this, find out what happened, and fix it. And that's exactly what we're dealing with here.
Does this change the debate at all over Keystone XL? Because that would be another way to move this oil, correct?
So the question is, how do we move it in the safest manner possible? And, I think rail is safe. Pipelines are also safe. But the question is, what's the best way to move it? And typically, that has historically been by pipeline. We're going to use this oil because until we stop driving, until we stop flying, until we find another bridge fuel, we're going to use crude oil. So how do we get it to market? And if we don't make those decisions, we're going to see it on trucks, on barges, on trains, in pipelines. It will get to market.
What if we took this incident as a sign that we need to use way less fossil fuels? We need to use this as a spur to further either different bridge fuels or getting to alternative energies faster.
For the foreseeable future, we are a hydrocarbon-based economy. Before we jump off the bridge, we have to have a game plan for moving forward, and we're just not there yet.
Okay, Brigham, thanks a lot for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.